I think my own personal test in these times is similar to that of many other people, trying to uh, always trust in God 24/7, going to sleep at night and wake up in the morning with the idea that it's all in God's hands. Because we've been listening to too many people. There are too many talking heads. You try to silence them. I heard, yes, from quite a lot of people who seem to have a good grasp of the political and military situation. They have been right in the past, and they've been talking about what's happening now and what's to be happening in the future. But uh, that's insufficient because you do not hear them talk of God. On the other hand, you hear people who are very strong. They have very strong emunah and bitachon, but they do not talk enough about the practical effect, how we should actually do it. A complete Jew, like a David HaMelech or Moshe Rabbeinu, would, of course, have perfect trust in God, but they'd also then pick up a sword. So I heard of people talking, yes, put it all in God's hands, but then they don't believe in the value of actually having a weapon. David HaMelech had a sword and he had a harp, but he had a sword and he used it. And Moshe Rabbeinu also picked up the sword. And he told us that we have to sometimes pick up a sword. So you have to have both. Uh, it says that you're not supposed to treat mourners like Job's friends treated him. They said, "Oh, you deserved it somehow." Each of them had their own justifications. And yes, when someone experiences personal tragedy, you're not supposed to start pointing fingers and telling him what you believe because you're not God. You don't know. And also, when national tragedy happens, sometimes we can't point fingers, and definitely shouldn't say it's because of them. This happened because in Haredi society they do this. This happened because in secular society they do that. That's a terrible thing to do. We don't do such a thing. However, it is also true that it's explicit in the Torah that there are certain things for which Am Yisrael will get punished if they do not do it, and it always happens. I grew up uh, in modern Orthodox land in New York. At least the little education we had about the Holocaust, I think, did not address these 2 points, which was that, like Rabbi Victor Miller says, it is very clear in the Torah that there's a tocha twice. If Am Yisrael doesn't keep the Torah, they're going to get it, and that's basically what happened in the Holocaust. It's not something we should say, well, we can't know. Those are all relatives. God's ways are mysterious. It's very clear for anybody who can read the Bible. It makes a lot of sense. We had it coming, and we should have repented. At least that's what he pointed out. And also the idea, the Elie Wiesel idea, where were where was man? How could man allow such a thing to happen, etc. Which, like I said before, turns out it's nonsense. You're watching what's happening now, and you see it. Most people don't care. Most people aren't going to step in. And that's just the way it goes. Genocides happen, and one nation does not save another. And that's why I think you should find the right type of people, like I mentioned before, Rabbi Sharkey, for example, who have a clear theology and also a clear practical grasp on how it's supposed to take place, what's supposed to be, what we're supposed to do. And those are the types of people you should be listening to. I myself feel like Eli Kohen Gadol. It says that they took the Ark of the Covenant from the sanctuary and they went to war against the Philistines. Eli was 98 years old and basically blind. He was frail. And it says, even though his own sons were out there and they were basically putting themselves in danger, they were going to get killed in this battle, he was arrayed. That means he was trembling, or it's an emotion there, over the Ark of the Covenant. Now, you read subsequently, the Ark of the Covenant, like we saw before in the Shiurim for a year and a half ago, that it was going to be fine. God was not going to let the Philistines desecrate it. Matter of fact, eventually they would have to just give it up because they realized it's harming them even more. But what Eli was worried about with the Ark of the Covenant, even if the Philistines would immediately have to give it back because it would harm them, he was still worried about what it would mean if the Ark of the Covenant were to be captured. It's like capturing the flag. It's not just an ordinary defeat. The Ark of the Covenant represents national pride. It represents the carriers of the Torah. Eli knew that even though the Ark wasn't in danger, its capture signaled what the Churban HaMikdash that Shmuel Navi, the young Shmuel Navi, had predicted, which is, as we saw before. It means the Churban's happening. It means Shmad. It means a lot of Jews would lose their lives to the enemy. And it means Galut. It means loss of territory and Jewish people being taken into captivity. That's why he was so worried about the Ark of the Covenant, not about the Ark itself, but what it would mean if they would get their hands on it. So too now, my fear is, and that's why I feel like Eli Cohen, my fear is that we could lose part of what it means to be Jewish. We could lose what we fought for. We could lose lives. that we could continue the state of the mikdash being in Korban. Right now, the mikdash is in a state of Korban. Right? That's the way it is right now, and this will not lead Chas v'shalom in any way to the base of mikdash being rebuilt. This will lead to Jews losing their territory. There's a whole issue. There's whole cities that have been destroyed. Will we be able to rebuild them? And I'm talking about not just what's called the Gaza envelope, but in Gaza itself. Has the time come to rebuild those cities? Apparently, yes. 18 years ago was a Churban brought about directly by Jewish hands, and maybe now's the time to fix it. But are we going to fix it? That's what I'm worried about. So I'm praying, and I continue to pray. And I ask everybody else to continue to pray. And by prayer, improve your minds. Become the type of people who demand that victory be sought. And just like we're telling people, tune out of the internet, stop listening to things, spend more time studying Torah. That's basically how you get rid of all those foreign influences that tell you to surrender. The foreign influences that tell you to have compassion for your enemy. The foreign influences that tell you that if you're to settle land that God gave to you and that God took away from your enemies, you're committing a war crime. All these other horrible ideas. The bad ideas that you get from the internet, your exposure to the foreign world, where you actually think a man is a woman and a woman is a man, and you accept these crazy doctrines that are actually just prefabbed in some, I guess, some Chinese lab, in this case, a Chinese social lab, to get you to totally break down your society, like what happened to these so-called rabbis. So you have to tune out. You have to tune out of everything, tune into the Torah, and hopefully we'll become an improved society that can actually fight for lasting improvements.